Bam. Do you recognize me? Oh my God. My hair, like my face was just like always itching. It was really bad. That beard, I was going to grow the beard like down to here, but there's no way. There's no way. I tried, and I'm sorry that I couldn't do it, but it's like 100 degrees outside, and I mean, it was just not going to work. So it's gone. How are you? How are you? We're going to go through a bunch of stuff today. I think this is a special. I mean, it's almost 6:00, and I'm out doing a live stream when I normally do live streams, in the morning at 9. But I haven't been doing one at 9 for a while now, and I need to get back to it. But things have just been going kind of crazy. I wanted to kind of update you on my situation, and then we'll go from there. I'm not dying. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. It's just I have a lot of wild things going on in the background, and we'll get through it. One of my favorite things to do is stream. You say, well, how can it be your favorite thing to do? Nobody's even on your stream. It's like, well, there might be someday. You can't just stream and then expect everyone to show up. You can't just build up an audience in a day. It takes years, maybe. It takes me years. I've made every effort I can to get the people in, and it's the content is not resonating yet, and that's totally fine. I'll keep it up. I do hope one day we can talk about all the real estate news in the world, and you and I can go back and forth, and what do you think and what do I think and other stuff. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is John Shank. I am a founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis. I have a brokerage. We don't have many people. In fact, I'm losing my only agent. She's retiring Jan, so I'm not gonna have another agent. It'll just be me, and that's the way it's gonna be. Do I want to train another agent right now? No. It's one of those things where it's just not going to happen. So we let it go. But anyway, what do I do? Every day I help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs. That's what I do. That's my job. Now, I came over to the YouTube space, the internet space, because I wanted to get the message out further. I think what happens is people get like a news snippet about real estate, like, oh, the market's hot. Like right now, you probably think the market's super hot. Maybe it is where you are. Real estate is obviously a very regional thing. But sometimes I read stuff and it's just garbage, and I think that you should know it. I don't think you should be surprised by that. So I'm a commentator in some sense of what's going on in the real estate market, what's going on where I live. And then if you're talking to an agent, maybe you can compare what I've said to what they say. Maybe your market's totally different than mine, and that's totally good. One thing I saw recently is I have this one video in YouTube that has it's not really viral, but every day it kind of just gets a bunch of views. And I had 2 comments early in the morning about the fellow was saying, you're just a bunch of Karens for being upset that people are driving their cars on your driveway. You should just let that go. And I thought about it, and I'm like, on what planet do you think it's okay to have a driveway where people consistently, like daily and hourly, use your driveway to turn around and back up? It's not like a public place. Now I can understand, like, say I go in a neighborhood and I get to the end of a cul-de-sac and I have to turn around because something's bad, so I use your driveway. It happens. I'm talking about this constant use of a driveway every day. And I was very intrigued by the comments. I didn't push any further because I just totally disagree. It's really interesting kind of how our dialogue is kind of set up now. It's like you can call people certain things and get away with it, but you can't call them other things that previously you could. And I'm not gonna go on a soapbox here and tell you the words that you used to be able to use with, and it'd be totally normal and fine, and how those words have been replaced by other words that are more hurtful to different groups. But it's okay because it's the latest thing. So I'm not but you know what they are, and you can think about it, and you can get back to me. But anyway, it occurs to me that just because I think about something, just because I see things a certain way, doesn't mean that everybody else sees those things the same way. And especially in real estate, do you trust the marketing? And let me give you an example. I was working with a seller that was out of town. He lived in Florida, and he had called myself, and he had called another agent, and he wanted one of us to list his properties in St. Louis. Now, this was before the coronavirus, just before the coronavirus. Now, the house was a mess. He had it rented out, and the people had not managed it very, very well. And so the house needed painting. It needed all kinds of contracting work. I was happy to assist in getting people in, but the seller was always trying to nickel and dime me on who my vendors were. And it's like, I don't need this. Here's my vendor. Here's my guy that can paint this thing and get it done. Okay. You want to use them? That's fine. If you want to use somebody else, that's fine too. But I'm not going to sit there and get 14 bids for you for every single thing. It was quite time consuming. It was quite, at the end of the day, I don't know if I would do it again. But anyway, I was in competition with another agent, and the other agent was big on maybe what I would call the Keller Williams approach. That, like, you take the market, you take what's going on in the market, and then you use it to your advantage. And so early on, like, the guy was sending me, my seller was sending me the emails he was getting from the other agent. And he's like, well, what do you care to say about this? And what do you care to say about this? And so let's just go over it. So during that time, the market was doing pretty well. And there were no issues. And so the email that the guy sent was, you need to list your property now because times are great and you don't know when they're going to end. You don't know when the good times are going to end. You need to list your property this week. And then the virus came, and the guy sends out another email that says, you're going to lose everything. You need to list your house now. The market is terrible. You should list now. Now, if you look at it, it was all you need to list now. It didn't matter what the circumstance is. You need to list now. And what he was doing was he was causing the word that always escapes me when I'm trying to use it online, a sense of urgency. He was trying to cause a sense of urgency in the mind of the seller to sell. It had nothing to do with the market. Okay. Nothing. It was just a way to get somebody to sell something, which is fine. How many slimy real estate agents are there out there? Plenty. Was that a slimy thing to do? I don't know. Maybe the guy does more business than I do. I don't like to play games with my buyers and my sellers. I just never have. And so in that one instance, though, you see where, like, everyone's a real estate expert, right? Everyone that's in no, they're not. Okay. And you get these situations where, is it news or is it propaganda? And by propaganda, I mean, is it designed to cause an emotional response to get you to, buy or sell a product? Or is it really news? And you can use that filter on pretty much everything. And it's quite shocking how, if you look at things that way, what you'll see. But anyway, I ended up getting the listing, and we sold the house for more than asking, and it worked out really well. And the person that bought the house is still there, and I'm happy for him. And the deal we did with the buyer's agent, I thought, went smoothly, and we've got no issues. But anyway, I had a lot go on. I guess I should tell you, in some ways, not to, I don't know how to explain it. Let me get into it like this. As you know, I've been doing live streams for a while, and I've been having success in the sense that I'm producing a live stream almost daily. Sometimes I don't live stream on Sundays, but for the most part, I'm live streaming every day. Not building up the audience that I want to, but at the same time, just trying to get better, and trying to understand the situation. Understand what I'm doing a little more and bringing you along with me. But to do that, I've needed some help. And so I had an assistant, and my assistant left yesterday abruptly. I had no real warning. I had no ability to bring in a new assistant in time. And so yesterday it hurt. It was a kick to the shins. And there was a kick to the shins on a couple of ways. And I'll just go over them with you. One, you know, I tried to treat the person with the utmost respect, and I don't feel like it was returned, because if you're going to leave, you should leave with, give me at least 2 weeks notice, just so that I can find someone else that would take the place. I know that it's not a requirement, but it just would have been a courtesy thing to do, because, you know, all of a sudden now I'm stuck doing 3 jobs when I'm normally just doing 1. And so that hurt. So the live stream yesterday would have been filled with anger, animosity, and I didn't want to bring that to you. I'm upset about a lot of things in the United States right now. A lot of things in the housing market are crazy, but I don't want this to be a live stream of just anger all the time. I'm not biased to be a, like, you know, happy-go-lucky person. That's just not my nature. But at the same time, I don't want to just bring hate and venom and sadness every day. That's not where I'm at. And yesterday, you know, I was living in my head. I was very, very upset about what had happened. Upset meaning disappointed. When you're trying to build something, and you think you have some team members to come along with you for the ride, and then it's obviously not true because they're gone. It's frustrating. It's one of the reasons why I'm not really the best real estate broker, and that my job as a real estate broker would be to recruit agents 24/7. That would be my job. And I don't want to do that. I just want to practice the real estate business without people looking over my shoulder telling me what to do all the time. I don't think that's very much fun, and I don't want to be a part of it. And so that's why I have my own brokerage. So I have the ability to practice real estate the way I feel it should be done. And if my buyers and sellers agree, then I'll do well. And if it's not, then I won't. So that was like probably one of the bigger kick to the shins I've had in a couple months. Along with, Monday rolled around and 2 offers that I had written. Both of them were rejected by the sellers. And so, another weekend of showing houses all weekend and nothing to show for it. And this has happened weekend after weekend after weekend. And then I don't know if it was yesterday, I don't know if it was today, but I knew that they were raising rates. We didn't know what they were going to raise the rates to. Some people thought 50%. Some people thought 50 basis points. Some people thought 75 basis points. Turns out it's 75 basis points. Don't know if it came out today or yesterday, but we're going to go over it as part of our show today. And just, I have buyers currently leaving the market in droves for a couple of reasons. One, 2 months ago, they were at 3% and they could afford a $250,000 or $300,000 house. Now they can't even afford a $200,000 house with the change in interest rates or the change in mortgage lending rates. That's hurtful because they were always buying something better. It was people that were selling to buy something better. And now that's not going to happen. So that's frustrating. 2, sellers don't care that the market's changed dramatically, especially in St. Louis right now. In the St. Louis market, you're still getting stupid offers, over asking, no appraisal, no repairs. That's very, very common. In fact, the 2 deals that I lost, I was over asking on both deals, and there was just nothing. People were over me, basically. So that's frustrating. And then I had my friend this past weekend sell his house with another agent, and I knew he was going to do it. It wasn't like a surprise. We're still friends, but there's something about watching your friend list their house with someone else, and they did something that irritates me as a buyer's agent. They had the house listed on Friday, no show till Saturday, and then they were going to have an open house on Sunday. They took an offer on Saturday and didn't have the open house on Sunday, which really is annoying. As an agent, really annoying, because maybe you can't get there on Saturday. Like this weekend, I'll tell you, because it's between you and me and the rest of the world. Friday night, I have somebody coming over to the house. Saturday is my birthday. Friday night, I'm not going to be able to show houses. Saturday, I'm not going to show houses in the evening. I might show them during the day. But, then now I've got Sunday normally to show a house, but in this case, I don't, because the house would be gone. So it's very, very frustrating. And so I just wanted to go over kind of why I didn't have a live stream yesterday. It was exactly the reasons why. There was just a lot of bad things piling on me over and over and over again, and it was too much to overcome. And so while I hate to not stream at least every day, it's what I had to do. So apologies. Like, nobody was watching. So it's like, and you probably shouldn't say that. I should probably be like, oh, the 50 people that were watching, or oh, the 1,000 people that were watching were sad. But it's just not really in my nature to do that thing. And this ties into what we're going to talk about today. And we'll go to it now. We're transitioning. This article came out last year, but they sent it in my email, and I wanted to go over it with you now. I don't know how it's looking on your side. Okay, here you go. And I think I'm going to leave it like this. Let me know if this is terrible. I can do this, but I don't like to do it. I really like this one. So depending on the device you're on, hopefully you can read along it. But it says 17 phrases you probably use that clients hate and what to say instead. So this came out, like I said, in 2021 in May, but I just saw it today, and I thought it would be something to talk about and take a deep dive into. Now, I am very cognizant, I think, of not using like realtor speak around my clients because I hate it. And I feel like at times I'm punished for not, like, I'm going to try and explain this to you. When you're a buyer and you want to have an agent help you buy a house, you have a picture of an agent in your head, the perfect agent. Okay. And that perfect agent, you may want them to be a greasy, slimy individual. And then you have me, and I don't feel like I'm that greasy, slimy individual. So I don't fit the ideal image of what you're looking for. Same thing on the sales side. You're looking for someone that's going to hide any problem you have with the house. You're looking for someone that'll take the lowest amount of money possible. You're looking for the person that's like a chain smoker and just like the most, maybe missing a few teeth. Or you're looking for someone to just totally lie to you like the whole time. And I'm just not about that. I've never been that way. And so I never really fit the ideal, like what the agent is supposed to be. And so those types of agents use these types of phrases. And so it would fit with me that I'm not going to use them in my own business. But I thought we could go over it as kind of have some fun today because, like I said, it's been a little bit rough the last 2 days, and I wanted to have something here for everyone to enjoy. So let's get to it. I'm going to switch my screen. So here's the first thing. Everything I touch turns to sold. And then they write, first, no, it doesn't. Second, you might want to actually read the story of King Midas before using this one. Spoiler, it didn't end well for him. It says, what to say instead? Take the time and effort to come up with an original slogan that isn't a cliche. We even have some slogan advice to help. My slogan at Deerwood Realty is Deerwood Delivers. And what that means is we deliver. That means we don't just say something and then we don't back it up. If we say something, we back it up. If we say we're going to be somewhere at 10 o'clock, we'll be there at 10 o'clock. If we say the house can sell for probably this price, it's going to sell for that price. That's what we do. That's Deerwood Realty. That's Deerwood Delivers. It's mine. I like it, and I don't really care if you don't. But I definitely wouldn't say everything I touch turns to sold. That makes me uncomfortable. Okay. Number 2, I love referrals. And it says, yeah, they know. Literally every sales professional on earth does too. Do you also love oxygen and food? It says, what to say instead? Work a pitch for referrals in your closing process. This will give you a chance to make your case for earning a referral and also make it easy for them to take the next step. So I've gotten referrals and bungled them over and over again. And I'm not proud of that. I don't want you to think that I'm boasting about that, but we'll talk about the word boasts. If you give a referral in real estate, like if you say, hey, let's say, for instance, you want to refer me and you say, hey, John did a really nice job with our house. He helped us with a bunch of the questions that we had, and we did really well. Well, is that a reason to call me? What if your house was a gorgeous house anyway, and you decided that you were going to price it right? I mean, that house is going to sell in any market. So there's got to be more to it. And so what people might do is they may talk about the person more than the job. So you should talk to John because he donates money to a charity or donates his time to a charity or because he X, Y, and Z. But you have to be careful with that because you don't want to be a pity project. Okay. You don't want to be like, you should use John because he's really down on his luck and he could, he's just had so many bad things. You should feel sorry for him, and that's why you should use him. I mean, I know agents that do that, but I don't think it's the right way. And so with the referral for me, you kind of have to say, hey, I used John and it turned out really well. He showed me a lot of things in the market that I was unaware of, and I really, really appreciated his help. That's the referral that I want. Just a random referral of like, you should call John. He did the best job on my house ever. Well, what does that really mean? Like, for instance, we were talking about this on Saturday or Sunday. I showed you that house they were asking $300,000 and they got $410,000 for it. Now, do you think that was the agent on the listing side? Do you think that the agent did that good of a job? $110,000 over asking price? Or do you think that the market may have had something to do with it? I mean, that's why I get a little bit uncomfortable with this concept of, well, you should use this person because they're, they did such a great job on my house. Well, I mean, maybe your house was perfect. I mean, I hate to say that, but a lot of people do have really nice houses that would sell in any market. And then other people have houses that are perfectly nice for them, but a little more difficult to market and sell. On the buyer side, I can only take so many buyers at one time. And so, I mean, I try to treat my buyers with the utmost respect, and I try to show the buyers all these things I know about the market. But at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know that my buyers would ever know if I was a good buyer's agent or not. I mean, is showing up on time for a showing a hallmark of a good agent? Because I tend to do it, but sometimes sometimes I miss. Sometimes my buyers miss, and we just say like, look, I'll benefit of the doubt type thing. Now, if I was chronically late, that'd be one thing, but that usually doesn't happen. Anyway, my point is the referral thing has been really tricky for me. And it's a way in which I think I've lost a lot of business, because if someone gets a referral from me with no context, there's not a whole lot I can do to turn it into my favor, because again, what they're looking for is that the vision of what they think a real estate agent should be, whether or not that's true or not. So number 3, I have buyers lined up to buy your house. You're lying. They know you're lying. They know you're lying. They know that they know you're lying. So stop lying. Says what to say instead. Use one of our FSBOs for sale by owner scripts to make your case without the whopper. I have buyers lined up to buy your house. Now, if I did have a buyer lined up to buy your house, I'd be a little bit suspect, because like now I can work a deal off market. Maybe that's not best for the seller. Maybe it's best we take that house to the market. I have had listings where I've brought buyers through that I have, and for one reason or other, it hasn't worked. I've also been a dual agent on a few houses, and I don't have any problem with dual agency. I really don't. I feel like as long as I'm not misrepresenting the property to the buyer or the seller, I can do a dual agency. There's no question. Because I can like say this, watch. And it's how I do business anyway. Say I'm talking to the seller. I can say, the buyer requests this. Okay. And then the seller can say, well, John, what do you think? Or no, I'm not going to do that. And then I can go back to the buyer and say, the seller said no, or the seller said X, Y, and Z. There's really nothing in there where I have to be underhanded and sneaky. Like I can show my buyer comps, and you say, well, you can manipulate the comps. You can manipulate the comps anytime. It doesn't have to be on a dual agency situation. So I think it's fine. What I don't like is there's a commercial that ran in St. Louis, and I know Buffalo, New York, where it was they kept advertising, and it wasn't the same person, but it was the same company behind it that was running the ads. So the person in St. Louis that said they had 6,000 people in their list that were going to buy your home. Now, as a seller, your greatest fear is that your house isn't going to sell. So this speaks to your fear naturally. The problem is they don't have 6,000 buyers. I mean, give me a qualified buyer. Show me who that is. And then if you had that many buyers, you probably wouldn't have enough time to list houses, because you'd be running around literally 24 hours a day showing houses to buyers, since you have 6,000 of them. I have about 10 buyers, and it's hard for me to keep track of all 10 at one time. So just keep that in mind. I just want to check some stuff real quick, and then we'll get back to it. Okay. So Number 4, that tax lien can be cleared up in a week. If you ever wanted to see the inside of a courtroom looks like from the defendant's chair, saying things like, "This is for you." What to say instead? The one phrase every real estate agent should have on their bathroom mirror: "I am not a lawyer or your lawyer, but I can help you find someone to research this." So I've never been in a situation where I've had a house that has a tax lien. And let me say this: I'm very uncomfortable with uncomfortable with listings at times, because maybe my listing, maybe the seller could be telling the truth. Maybe, they may not know if there's a lien, or there may be a lien and they don't know. It's you never know the situation. And the problem is that the title search comes after the house is under contract. Why is that? Well, that's when the title company gets paid. And so you'll be in a situation where it's like, I need to do this deal, and there could be something wrong with the property, but I can't disclose it because I don't know. You're going to find it when you're the buyer. Like, I'm representing the seller in this case. And then we're going to have to talk about it. But until then, there's nothing I can do. It's very frustrating. And I've talked to title companies in the past to say, hey, can we run in like a preliminary something or other? And then it gets very squirrely with that. So I would never say anything about a tax lien. I don't know anything about them. What I have said in the past is, like if we do, I've had a couple times now where people want to know, do they have a right to sell the property? And it's like, I don't really know. I mean, if I see I need to see like a power of attorney or something that says this. And then, if it, working with your lawyer, perhaps. I mean, that's one thing that people don't understand about real estate agents. So like, I have a good bit of knowledge about a lot of things, but I'm not an attorney. People ask me all the time, what would happen if this and this and this? I don't know. It makes you sound dumb, but it also keeps you from getting in trouble. Now, there are cases where, like, let's say there's like mold in the basement, and your seller honestly doesn't see it, and you see it, and you're like, hey, man, there's mold over there. You might want to disclose that. Well, what are you doing? Well, you're telling the seller, like, hey, you might want to disclose that to protect you, because when the buyer comes through and finds it, God only knows what they're going to what they're going to do. In this market, who knows? For 5, brand new agent, I'm the best agent in the city. One look at your Zillow profile will tell them otherwise. Getting your foot in the door based on a lie will usually come back to haunt you. What to say instead? Don't say anything. Prove it. So I'm not a brand new agent. I am not the top agent in St. Louis. I do not wish that role on me. My life is my own, and the goal for me has never been to be the agent with the most transactions. The goal with me is, let's work together to find a property on the buyer side. Let's work together to find a property that you can be happy with and live in forever. On the seller side, it's let's get you the money that we can get you for this house, and let's do a smooth deal if we can get it. That's where I'm at. It's, I don't say I can get more money than you. I don't say anything like that on the listing side. And then as far as, like, we talked about this maybe 2 days ago, is what is the definition of the best agent, or is it the agent that makes the most money? Is it the agent that does the best with their clients? How is that quantified? So I've never really been comfortable with it. So I don't do that. So you would never see I'm the best agent in this city, or I'm number one or anything like that. I don't want to be number one. It's not my thing. So then number 6 is a very confusing phrase, because I don't know what it means. I'm in real estate and I don't know what it means. And so let me read it. It says, call me for pictures. It says, unless you have a stunning high-end pocket listing, this will almost always set off red flags for buyers. The first questions they will ask themselves is, what are they hiding? What to say instead? Nothing, just take great pictures and post them. I can't imagine taking a listing for a seller and not having professional pictures taken and not having those in the listing. Now, I see a lot of listings, and quite frankly, they're terrible. Very high-end listings, very terrible presentation. I don't know why. I've never figured out. But here's some of the things that I've seen that I don't like. One of those things is when you have, say, 100 pictures, but 3 of those pictures are the exact same picture, and you just put them in different places in that 100. So that, like, you could have just put it in one place in one time, and I would have still gotten the effect, rather than now I'm sitting there going, is that the same picture I just saw a minute ago? So we have that. 2, I can't imagine, let's go over marketing of your home. I can't imagine when having pictures of your house online is the worst thing ever. Let's say it's the most terrible house ever. Say there was a murder and there's blood all over the floor. You're better off putting the pictures out there so no one's surprised. And then you're better off hoping that something like terrible real estate agent photos or something like that picks it up. The best of Zillow or something picks that up, and then it markets the property on its own. That's the best thing you could hope for. I would never hide anything. Now, there is a difference. Let's say it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. One of the bathrooms is updated, the other one isn't. Well, I'm taking pictures of the updated bathroom, and you're not getting pictures of the second bathroom. You say, well, that's not very nice. Well, look, I'm not in it to be nice. I'm trying to paint a picture of a beautiful home. The other bathroom's kind of ugly. You can find that out when you get there. But I would never use call me for pictures. I definitely think that would always set off red flags, and I don't do pocket listings ever, so I don't have to worry about that particular case. Moving on, number 7, I will send you a free market analysis. Now, this is a problem that I have. I'm happy to send you a market analysis. It's just the level of detail. What are we talking about here? I mean, am I spending an hour on this? Am I spending 5 hours on this? What am I doing? And so it says this one comes from a Compass New York City power broker, Vicki Barron. We have to say we never really thought about how silly it is to tell clients your comparative market analysis is free when all CMAs are and always have been free. Vicki doesn't mince words on this one. My pet peeve is the tagline, free market analysis. Seriously, when have we ever charged for one? So she says, what to say instead? Hey, I just wrapped up a thorough market analysis for the house, which we can go over in detail when we meet on Wednesday. See how she's setting an appointment? But this doesn't work this way. They have to contact you in some way before you can say, I just wrapped up a thorough market analysis for the house, which we can go over in detail when we meet on Wednesday. Now you're setting a date. Very forward. I like it. It's not something I would do because no one's ever calling me and saying, hey, John, can you send me a free market analysis? No one's doing that. I've had people say, hey, how much is my house worth? And then I've never seen the house. So it's like, I don't know. All right. Number 8, it's up and coming. You'd be surprised how easy it is for a conversation like this to veer into a fair housing violation territory. What to say instead? Give them the data. Prices for 3 bedrooms in this neighborhood have gone up 20% more than the rest of the city. There's also a great new coffee shop right around the corner. Now, I have not used it's an up and coming neighborhood because I'll tell you why. In St. Louis City, I'm going in the city right now. There are areas where they're always up and coming, but they never really make it. And then there's areas that have up and coming to the point where you can't afford to go there. It's not even a thing. You can't afford it. And so there's no point of being up and coming. If you look at comps and you say this house has $100,000 more of whatever than the other house, and you list it for that price and you get it, now you know that that's the price for that house in a good neighborhood. It's not about being the first one in a neighborhood. That's not really a fun person. That's, you can't go to your buyer and they say, hey, I want to buy this house. And you say, well, that's great. I really think this market is turning in your direction. I think this is the next big thing. I would never do that. And most of my buyers that are looking for a home in the city know the city pretty well and are very comfortable with where they would choose to live, regardless of whether or not it was up and coming. That wouldn't matter. So, number 9, that wall isn't load bearing. Again, unless you want to wind up in court, avoid promising anything when it comes to renovations. What to say instead? I'm not sure if this wall is load bearing or not, but I will add this to my list of questions. I'm going to text the listing agent tonight. The bug is back. The bug, the little bug that comes at me every time I do a live stream. Anyway, I have some basis in home construction, some experience. And as far as a load bearing wall, I talk to my buyers, like they tell me what they're thinking in the home. And then I kind of just say, okay, or all right. Like I don't really even say no because I don't see where that benefits me or the buyer. Like let's say we have this room and like I can remember the last house this happened. The buyer was like, I want to take down this wall and make this all one open space. And I'm like, okay. She's like, can it be done? I'm like, always, if you have enough money, anything can be done. And that's true in a house. I don't know anything that can't be done in a home if you don't have enough money. It's just the way it is. So I don't get into the specifics of like a load bearing wall or not. I don't think. But I have been, like the house I looked at this weekend, there was another house and there was a wall, and this house was built in the 1920s and the wall was drywall. And then there was paneling on the other side of the wall, which led me to believe that this wall had been changed at some point in time because it was drywall. I don't think that that's going to get me sued because literally they didn't have drywall in 1920. So, I mean, I'm being honest. I mean, it's like, look, this is obviously drywall. We don't know what happened, but we do know that there's something up about this wall. Number 10, in a cramped, dingy basement, this is usable space. It could be an art studio. Honesty is always the best policy. Does that basement really look like it has potential for an art studio? If it doesn't, then say so. It says what to say instead. Maybe stop talking for a minute and just look at the darn basement with your buyer. This is a very fascinating thing for me. I don't try to sell a house to a buyer. I try to have the buyer have enough knowledge based on what we've seen previously to know that the house we're looking at currently is the one that makes the most sense. Now you say, well, what happens in this market? That's been a problem is we can identify properties that have great value all day long, but so can everybody else in the market. And it just gets kind of out of hand. But I don't sell the house. We go to a house. Let's just say like right now I'm working with a buyer that's looking first time home buyer looking for another home. And they're kind of stuck between 170 and 180. So we spend a lot of our time looking at the same houses in the 170 range. And unfortunately, one home that he looked at, the very first one, was screaming buy. There was just no question that this house was the one to buy. But it was the first house he'd seen in a while. And so he was out of practice. And so he didn't pull the trigger. And so then we've now looked at like maybe 10 other houses for the exact same asking price. And he's like, man, that's terrible. I wish I would have just pulled the trigger on the first one. Now, he knows the next house he sees, he'll be able to go ahead and write a contract. But that's how I do it. You're not going to get me to point out features and say like, this is the reason why you should buy this house. If anything, I'll point out features that you should be cautious about. For an example, the house we looked at, there was another house we looked at in the city 2 weeks ago, and the yard, the property line had not been respected by a neighbor of the seller. And so they had built a garden right up past the fence of this house. And that was going to be a problem. That was going to be an issue. And so I pointed out to my buyers, like, look, if we write an offer, which we did, we're going to need a survey because they're clearly encroaching on your property. I mean, there's no question. And now it's a question of what do we do about that? And then number 11, at an obviously tiny listing, it's quaint. Asking people not to believe their own eyes is a surefire way to erode trust and lose buyers. I've always thought that. I've always thought that asking people not to believe their own eyes is a surefire way to erode trust and lose buyers. But what's odd is I know a lot of buyers that get caught up in the listening to the agent and not what they see. And so it's not unusual for someone to really, really enjoy being with a buyer and listening to the agent and actually believing that crap. I don't know. It doesn't work with me. It says what to say instead. Not a ton of room here, but the actual square footage lines up with other listings we've looked at. Let's look at another listing with the same square footage, but better layout to compare. Square footage is an odd measurement in St. Louis. There's a lot of games that people have played over the years. But if we were at a tiny listing, we were there. Obviously, we would have known that before we went. I mean, if it's a 700 square foot house and it's like a 3-bedroom, like that bedroom's going to be like 6x5. That third bedroom, I mean, it's going to be small. And most of my buyers know that. In fact, one of my buyers right now, their biggest problem is they want to be above 2,400 square feet on a home. And that's a big house. And especially on a ranch, that is a big home. And so, first of all, at least in St. Louis, first of all, there aren't that many of them. And so that's a problem. And second, they're expensive if we find them. So they want to be in the 24 because they're in a 1,400 square foot house now, and it feels small to them. If we went and looked at another 1,400 square foot house, they'd be like, why are we here? This is stupid. And similarly, like some of my first time home buyers, they see a house, it looks cute from the pictures. But I mean, again, it's 700 square feet. And when you actually go look at the house, it's like, my God, this is a tiny, tiny home. I don't know if I could actually live here. So I don't say that's quaint. I've never said that. I wouldn't describe the house. Again, I don't think it's my place. It's for the buyer to determine if they think it's quaint or if they think it's perfect for them. So I don't waste my time on it. So then the next one, it says, and obviously at an obviously run down listing, it's rustic. Nobody likes a liar. What to say instead? Sorry about this time. I'm going to give the listing agent an earful about how misleading those pictures are. Let's grab a coffee on me before heading to the next listing. Now, this is funny to me. There's a real question. Like there was a home that I was showing in Oakville, which is a suburb of St. Louis. It's in the county. And the house was beautiful pictures. The basements, the disclosures were, they rebuilt a wall and there were cracks and everything, but there were no pictures of that in the listing. The agent had wisely not taken photos of the problems with the foundation and instead left the buyers to go to the home to see it. I told my buyers, I sent over the disclosure. I said, this house has had major foundation issues. But my buyers didn't believe me because the pictures that they saw were so beautiful. It was only until we went to the basement and looked ourselves where the walls were actually blowing out. And there were these huge ties into the house. It was an absolute mess. That house ended up going for $66,000 over the asking price. And I can only imagine what some idiot buyer is going to be doing now for the rest of their time. They're going to be repairing those walls forever. It was a terrible situation. And to me, that wasn't rundown. Okay. To be fair, that wasn't rundown. But to me, I was in a tight spot because my buyer said, hey, why didn't you tell us it was a no-go? And I was like, well, I didn't see any pictures of it. And so until I saw the pictures, I couldn't really make a determination of whether or not we couldn't go see it. I'm always for going to see stuff and then verifying it. One of the quickest things you can do with a listing, if you're a buyer, is if you see pictures online and then you go to the house and the first picture you see that you remember isn't anything like what you're actually seeing in real life. It's instant, and you could know right away that the seller's not being truthful or their agent, and that you probably don't want to have anything to do with that house. Now, on a rundown listing is kind of weird because you can't smell a picture. And many houses I go to have smells that are just awful. And those homes I like to call a shower home. That is, when I finish showing the house, I'm going to have to go home and take a shower because I either smell or the dirt is like entered my pores of my body and it's making me sick. I need a shower. So when I go to one of those, most of the time, once we're inside, I'll say, hey, we're here now. Might as well take a look. Everyone likes a train wreck. I would never consider buying someone a coffee because they chose a house that was terrible. That's not anybody's fault. It just happens. What does happen with some buyers is they're always looking for that value play. And so they refuse to accept that the reason why a house is priced lower sometimes is because the house is terrible. And so they'll think like, let's just put it into an example. So let's just take a 1,500 square foot house that normally sells for $350,000. And let's say you, Mr. Buyer, who's really being sneaky, finds a 1,500 square foot house where they're asking $300,000. Now, do you really think that there's not $50,000 difference in the home? I'm telling you, when we go to that house, it's going to be a disaster. And why is it a disaster at 50? Well, believe it or not, even when you have a crappy house as a listing agent, you try to tell yourself it's not that bad. And so you do take a discount on the house, but you don't want to take the real discount that would probably sell it. So that's why it's like, that's probably like a 275 house, but you don't want to list it that low. I don't know. But anyway, I would never sell a listing to my buyers. I would let their eyes, their ears, and their smell, their noses determine whether or not it's worth buying. That's not where I need to be. Let's continue here. I'm sorry that I missed there. So number 13, I can get you more money for your house than other agents. Now, we just talked about this earlier. It's one of the things I don't ever do, but it's funny. It says you're just begging to end up with a disappointed seller who stops returning your calls if you make promises like this. I don't know. There is an inherent greed of the seller that says, because I bought this house is wonderful. And it doesn't really matter what the rest of the world thinks. So many times we'll have agents try to, what I would say is called buy the listing. The seller says, I want to sell it for $500,000. The house isn't worth $425,000, but you're an agent and you know that commission on $500,000 would be a really sweet commission. So you say, sure, let's list it for $500,000, knowing full well it's probably not going to sell for that. It happens all the time. I don't like it. That's not the way I typically roll. I typically am more consultative in the process with my sellers. I show them houses that would be in their price range, and then I let them make the determination. Do we really want to come to market, $75,000 over what the house is probably going to sell for? Probably not. So, that's what I see. That's what I do, but I'm not everybody's agent. It says what to say instead. Pricing your home correctly is actually one of the most important steps in marketing. Let's talk about what that means for your home. Maybe. I mean, I think that they hear that all the time too. And here's a play on this one. I've had agents pull this game with me, and when I'm in competition with them, and they'll say this: "Well, let me list your home for 1 week, Mr. Seller. Let me list your home for 1 week, and if I don't sell it in that 1 week, you can go ahead and choose the other guy." Do you really think that when the seller actually lists it and goes through all the trouble of listing it, and it doesn't sell in the first week, they're actually going to pull the listing? Never going to happen. Never going to happen. Just know if you're the agent and your seller tells you that, you're the other agent, you're not getting the listing. It's not ever coming back to you. You lost. Number 14, if your home doesn't sell, I'll buy it. The first agent who came up with this probably made a ton of money. Today, it's an old trick that almost everyone sees through right away. What to say instead? Pricing your home correctly is actually one of the most important steps in marketing. Let's talk about what that means for your home. It's the same exact thing you said for the other one. I can get you more for your house than other agents. If your home doesn't sell, I'll buy it, to me, is an agency issue. It's an agency issue. So let me go through this with you. If I'm the seller, okay, who is my seller's agent working for? Who is my real estate agent working for? They're working for me, okay? Now, when they're working for me, they should have my best interests in mind at all times. So what about, though, when they make the claim, if your home doesn't sell, I'll buy it? Well, what does that look like? Let's just use numbers. Let's say that you want to list your house for $300,000, and your agent knows in the back of their mind the house isn't worth $220,000. Okay. Do you really think that agent's going to want to buy that house at $300,000? Do you really think that the agent is going to buy the house at $300,000? Do you really think that the agent has any interest whatsoever in buying the house at $300,000 when it's a $220,000 house all day long and they know it? I don't know any real estate agent that's in business to lose money. I lose money on many deals, but it's more like on the buyer side, I've chosen a buyer that where the commission is not going to be that high in the first place. And then I've shown like 7,000 houses and there's no way I can make any money. That's where I lose money. But in this case, I'll buy it. Now all of a sudden you're changing the agency. Now all of a sudden the agent is the expert that is working on behalf of themselves, the buyers, and making an offer on your home. How could the house be worth $220 if the agent said it was worth $3 to start? Why would we list it for $3, but they're only going to buy it for $220? That's my issue. I believe there's a national brokerage right now that I was reading about that will, if they don't, yes, let me get to my, there's a sleazy company out of Miami that's a startup, and they said that you're going to use AI to match you with an agent. And they're guaranteed to use, they'll pay you $1,000 if the agent that they choose for you doesn't sell your home within 6 months. Now think about that. I mean, first of all, if you have a house and it's listed for 6 months in this market, I mean, that's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So I don't even have any sympathy for you. But let's say that were true. I mean, the $1,000 is nothing. $1,000 is nothing. I mean, who cares? Who cares? You've lost thousands of dollars by having the house sit on the market for 6 months. Anyway, number 15, at a Home Depot special listing, check out the luxury finishes. Unless you're working with the Beverly Hillbillies, you should always be honest about subjective things like quality of the finishes. What to say instead? The owner just renovated the kitchen. I really like these cabinets. What do you think? Well, this is a very interesting problem. A Home Depot special listing, I don't really know what that is. Again, real estate is regional, and the words we use are kind of regional. A Home Depot special listing. So to me, no, like, don't take this the wrong way. Like one of the things I see, the Home Depot carpet, I call it, they have this special where they run carpet sales for like $100 a room. And it's this brown shag carpet. It's the pile is about that tall. And so what I'll see most of the time is people trying to sell their house and the hardwood floors underneath or the flooring underneath is awful. And so they'll call Home Depot and have them come out and do the Home Depot carpet. And I'll point it out because it smells like new carpet. And I'm just like, hey, you realize they are covering something up here. As far as the cabinets, I don't get into quality of the cabinets unless it's visible. And so what I mean by that is I was looking at a house in the city close to, in Bevo. And we went and the renovation for the kitchen had happened in the mid 90s when I graduated high school. And as I did the math, I realized that was a long time ago, but the quality of the cabinets was phenomenal. I mean, really, really good. My buyers did not like the design of the cabinets. They did not like the style of the cabinets, but it was a quality cabinet. It was a quality cabinet. And so I said, man, these are nice. These are nice. But that wasn't a fix and flip, and they weren't using the cheapest quality cabinets. And I thought it was reasonable to point it out because I don't think they're first-time home buyers. I don't think they really have had the opportunity to know, how different cabinet qualities, exist. So I say how cabinet qualities exist. But I mean, they just don't have the knowledge that there's different qualities of cabinet, and they wouldn't know it if they saw it. Number 16, serious buyers only. I mean, you're trying to push leads away. What to say instead? Just tell them how great the listing is. Serious buyers only. If I saw that on a listing, I would laugh my head off because there's no way I'm going to buy that house because I'm not a serious buyer. I'm not serious about anything. So that's dumb. I see that with cars. I know what I have. That's what they say. Used cars. Serious buyers only. Never would happen with me. I mean, if I saw that. Now, to be honest, there's a condo right now in Chesterfield that's gone under contract 3 times, and it has come back on the market now 3 times. And the listing agent has put in the marketing remarks, we would prefer an all-cash offer because the particular HOA does not have flood insurance, but lenders are requiring flood insurance, and so people are backing out based on it being in a flood zone. But it's not in a flood zone. Whatever. The point is, we want an all-cash offer. That's not serious buyers only. Serious buyers only would be dumb. I would never put that on a listing. And then number 17, steps away from. Okay, this one is personal. It seems that every agent in New York City used this line at least once in a listing. Okay, the Upper East Side is also steps away from Brooklyn. Thousands and thousands and thousands of steps. What to say? Just give a damn number. 3 blocks to Whole Foods. How hard is that? Well, let me just say, I often put close to shops, restaurants, and more. Schedule your appointment today. You'll see that in my listing. Why? Sense of urgency, and it's probably close to shops, restaurants, and more. Close to. I would not do steps. We're not in a walking. I live mainly in the suburbs. I work both in the suburbs and the city, but not in like a heavy, dense populated. I haven't shown a downtown loft in probably 6 years. So, I mean, no one's walking anywhere. No one's under the guise. The walk score that you'll see on certain listings doesn't do anything for us because we're not walking. But that's just my market. Also, be careful with the steps away thing. Be careful. Like, we have been instructed by our boards and by the National Association of Realtors that we do not say like steps away from this Catholic church or Jewish synagogue or something of that nature. That is considered, could be considered a violation of the fair housing laws. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it myself, but I'm not in a position where I really want to challenge that. I'm just not. So I don't. So you won't see anything most of the time in St. Louis. You'll very seldom, you probably won't ever, like close to such and such church. Even like the old cathedral or the new cathedral, which are beautiful buildings, that would still probably be a little iffy on fair housing. So probably won't see brokerages embrace that. So that was the 17. Okay. And that is what they wrote. Now they have phrases that annoy other agents. Let's just go over this. This one broker said, jaw-dropping views. We don't normally have that in St. Louis. You would never see that. A rare find. Maybe you'd seen that. Circle back. I don't know. I've never liked circle back. I can't stand it. I also don't like please advise. I always feel like if I send an email and there's a problem, then I need to state a solution or a possible solution. So I don't really want you advising me. I'm the professional. I should be advising you. That's what you're paying for. No problem instead of you're welcome. No problem instead of you're welcome. I don't like that. It's true, but it could be an age thing. It could be an age thing. I don't like no problem. It makes it seem like an offense has been committed, and they are allowing it to go. They're allowing it to go unchallenged. Whereas, thank you, you're welcome. I think that makes sense. Okay. Then there's another one that says sun splashed. I don't like sun splashed. I've never ever seen that. And then it says, I think flooded with sunlight is much better and not so phony sounding. I don't really know. I don't know. I don't normally have that. Very seldom will you ever see a listing where they describe it as being dark and miserable, dark and dank. You're not going to get that. So anyway, another one says price improvement as opposed to reduced. I hate price improvement because what it says on the listing agent side is you're a moron. You listed the house at the wrong price. Okay. It is not an improvement because you reduced the price. It's you're an idiot and there's the tax you pay. You and your seller pay. I do not like price improvement. I think it's stupid. I read it and it seems to be like, no offense to anyone. I read it and it was from somebody that wrote it and they were in the East Coast. I'd never heard it before. I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever read. And I will not use price improvement ever. I've seen some agents use it in the St. Louis area. It's still stupid. And it makes me think less of the agent when they say things like that. Price drop. Never an improvement. Because the improvement indicates that you did a bad job in the first place and you're not owning up to it. River views. This says, considering one has to stick their head out of a window and do a complete exorcism right turn to see a sliver of it. I agree with that. But now if you're on the Mississippi, like we have some wonderful homes in kind of a terrible area that just show them that are like overlooking the Mississippi River. They're beautiful. They're condos. I would say there's river views. It's the Mississippi River's right in front. Cozy bedroom. Cozy bedroom automatically, without even having to read it, cozy bedroom is a small bedroom that's more like a closet. Then it says, meaning a glorified closet with a window. I mean, that's one thing, like after you've read enough listings and gone to enough houses, you know what people are saying when they say things like cozy. It needs a little TLC. It doesn't need a little TLC. It needs a lot. It needs a lot of TLC, more than you probably can afford. You don't want this. An assumption on the part of the agent, even if they think the client won't like it. Okay, so this is a very delicate thing. When I'm representing a buyer as a buyer's agent, I like to have a little pushback from the buyer when they want to write an offer. So I can say something like, are we writing an offer? And they can say, yes. Or like I could say, I didn't like this, this, and this, but what do you think? And if they say, well, I think we should write an offer anyway, then we'll write an offer. I have said in jest to people, I won't let you buy a terrible house. It's in jest a little bit, but I would definitely point things out that I think a buyer's not seeing. And then if they still wanted to go through with it, I would definitely write the offer. But I don't, I've never said you don't want this. I don't think that would be appropriate. I don't want to lead the buyer or seller as much as I want the buyer to see the things I'm seeing or the seller to see the things I'm seeing, and then more of a consultative process. That's who I am. This apartment has great bones. Transition to a buyer, you'll have to gut renovate it. It's true. Great bones does mean that, or just dated. Great bones. I have seen houses in my career that do have quote unquote great bones. And then I've seen houses that don't have great bones that are remodeled and fix and flips. And it's like, I don't really think this is a great house, but whatever. Now, here's another one. The market dictates the price. Translation to the seller. The apartment won't sell at the price we agreed to, so we'll have to lower it. This is the same as price improvement to me. I do think that the market dictates the price. I do think that's something you talk to the seller about before you list the home. I don't make up the price. The question is, John, what do you think the house will sell for? And then the answer for me most of the time is, well, what do you want to sell the house for? Like, what do you want? Like what? And then they say, I don't know. And I say, well, the comps indicate this. Do you want to list it for that? And then they say, no, I want to list it for 10,000 more. And I say, well, I don't think that's a great plan. I don't think that's a great plan. We should probably list it for 10,000 less. And then people think it's a bargain, you know? Well, then they'll say, no, John, I don't think so, because you can never go up. You can only go down. I think this market's proven once and for all, you can always go up. I've seen people go up 6 figures. So I don't think that's true. And I think I will probably use that for the rest of my life. I've seen markets where the house goes up if it's priced right. And I don't think that, I don't agree with the market dictates the price being a bad thing to say. Depends on when you use it, of course. And then, well, it has a lot of usable space. Translation to the buyer, it's small, but you can squeeze in. Well, it has a lot of usable space. Not something I'd ever say. Not something I'd ever say. Wouldn't say a house is cozy. Wouldn't say it has a lot of usable space. Because what is the flip side of that? What is the opposite? The house has no usable space? Well, how can that even be? I wouldn't use that. It's a jewel box. You ever heard that? It's a jewel box. Translation to the buyer, over-decorated tiny apartment with a high price. See, this is in New York City. I'm in the Midwest. We have something called the jewel box, but it's something that was built for the 1904 World's Fair. And it's like a glass building with plants inside, but not like special plants. I don't think. I went to a wedding there once. Flight of the Valkyrie was what they used walking in. Thought that was weird. But anyway, we wouldn't use jewel box. That isn't something that I don't think I've ever used that phrase, and I never would, ever, like for a house. This won't last. So close to shops, restaurants, and more. Schedule your appointment today. This one won't last long. That's what I write on all my listings. The copy looks particularly ridiculous when a listing is over 3 months old. That's true. And so what I do is I monitor my listings. Every Friday, I look at my listings and say, is what someone would see, does that make any sense? And that is one of the things that's a pet peeve of mine. I would never have. This one won't last long. Schedule your appointment today. If it's lasted like 6 months, then it's lasted long, and I'm an embarrassment, and I'm not doing that. Question. Oh, this is an interesting one. Do we have a deal? The buyer should want to make an offer, not have to be prodded to do so. I agree. Now, I read a book once by some successful agents, and they said that you should always ask your buyer at the end of every showing, will we be writing a contract? Will we be writing an offer? You should always ask that. Now, that's what they said. That's what I didn't write it. I have incorporated it to some extent, but I want to kind of explain the underlying idea to that. And the underlying idea to it was this. You're not a tour guide. You're showing houses so that people can decide whether or not they're going to buy them. You're not showing houses because it's like a tour. We're not just looking at houses to look at houses. We're looking at houses with the intent to purchase one. And so if you never ask the buyer anytime, hey, are we going to put an offer in on this one? Then perhaps they think you are a tour guide. Now, the problem I have with asking, will we be writing an offer, is shouldn't you know your buyer well enough to know whether or not this house meets their criteria? Shouldn't you know your buyer well enough? I'm not maybe trying to argue it, or I'm just trying to explain it from my point of view. If you don't know what your buyer wants, what are you doing looking at houses with them that aren't what they want? So to me, I ask maybe one, like say I show 3 houses to the same buyer in an evening. Are we writing an offer on any of these homes? Not like confrontational either. I might even say, hey, I liked this house. What did you think of it? But again, this weekend this house I thought was a perfect house for these buyers. They didn't like it at all. And we talked about it, and I was like, this seems like a great home. And they're like, this is a home dated from the 90s and we don't particularly like it. But that's the conversation you should be having. It shouldn't be, do we have a deal? That is a smelly agent. Bring your sunglasses. Okay. Bring your sunglasses implies there's never cloudy or rainy day at this location. I've never ever seen that in a listing. I would never write that for a listing. And then has all the bells and whistles. What are you advertising? A circus, float, or a home? Yes, that is exactly what I would say to that. Now, let's get to one. I want to offer one of my own, and so I shall do so. The word boasts in a listing. This house boasts 3 bedrooms. Stupid. I hate the word boasts in a listing. To me, you should be shot on sight for saying something so stupid. The house does not boast 3 bedrooms. It doesn't boast anything. It cannot talk. It is an inanimate object. It's not talking. Now, maybe someone would say, if these walls could talk, again, I'd prefer they not. Like if I'm in a house, don't talk. Don't talk. I don't want to hear you're talking. The walls shouldn't be talking, and they should. And then what does that say about the house that is boastful? Do you want to live in a house that's boastful? Like, no one should be doing any boast at all. None. So that's my contribution. No boasting. I don't want to see it in the listing. If I see it in the listing, I'm going to believe that you're just messing with me. That's where I'm at. So let's continue. Now that was a fascinating article to me because, you could kind of relate. Like this is what, now do clients hate him? I don't know, but it's just something that I wanted to go over with you. Whatever you think is fine. So I did want to switch gears now. Something that was kind of interesting today that came out, and it's going to be right here. It's on the real estate trends. I just wanted to go over this, and I wanted to go over the one other article because they're kind of kind of in their same thing. It says, Compass lays off 450, briefly halts trading on the New York Stock Exchange. It says, company shutters Modus title arm, will look to reduce office space and will pause market expansion. Now, you have to understand that Compass Real Estate Brokerage became an IPO, and it ended up becoming the largest real estate brokerage by volume, I believe, in the United States. They beat out Realogy, which is now something else, but that's the Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Better Homes and Gardens. That's that umbrella of brokerages. But this one, 450 laid off, briefly halts trading on the NYSE. The problem with Compass, to me and some other people, is that it doesn't make a profit. It's the largest brokerage, but doesn't make a profit. It's the antithesis of the way I do business, because I can't operate without a profit. And they can, because they're funded by Wall Street. So it's kind of frustrating to be in the marketplace with a company that doesn't make any money, and they're not profitable, and yet they're the largest brokerage. So they get a whole lot of free press for being the largest brokerage. And then there's me. I don't get any free press, and I have to run on a profit. So let's just check this out. It says real estate brokers Compass grew quickly thanks to venture capital money and an aggressive agent recruiting plan. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. But the decade-old company has always bled cash, which I've said, like they don't make any money. And now, as the financial markets take a turn for the ugly, may face a reckoning. So just to go over that, the decade-old company has always bled cash. Their valuation is very, very high considering they don't make any money. Okay? It's just not good. And so I'm very uncomfortable with like what they've said in their reports is that they plan on cutting the commission to their agents. The whole reason they got all the agents over there was they had a great commission plan. And so their idea was, we're going to take up all this market share, we're going to get all these agents, and then we're going to cut their commission, and that's how we're going to make money. Seems like kind of a bait and switch type thing, which you're never going to see somebody like myself do. It says on Tuesday, New York-based Compass announced a workforce reduction plan by laying off 10% of the company's current employees, or approximately 450 positions, according to a filing with the SEC. Now, I don't know how that type of brokerage has so many people. Like, I don't know what they all do. I mean, for instance, like I have agents and I have like maybe some office staff, but I wouldn't have that many people. But I'm not a national brokerage either. It says Compass estimates a $15 to $16 million pre-tax charge in severance and termination benefits for the affected employees. Most of the affected employees will be notified later in the day. That's never good. That's never good to see an article online about layoffs at a company that you're part of, and you didn't see it yet. Like, they didn't tell you yet. Like, they should tell you and then report. It says the company paused trading on the New York Stock Exchange Tuesday. Multiple sources confirmed, but resumed it in the early afternoon. Compass stock, which had debuted at $20.15 per share in April of 2021, was trading at $4.51 a share before trading stopped. Look, this company and this whole setup was Wall Street in its finest day. Look, brokerages are too expensive. Real estate's too expensive. We're going to show you. And so they fund this wonderful company. They get all these agents, and then they're not making any money. And they're like, oh my God, we're not making any money. Stock price goes down. A lot of other things are going to keep happening too. But anyway, it says in response to questions about less and halting of the stock trading, a Compass spokesperson provided a written statement that read in part, due to the clear signals of slowing economic growth, we've taken a number of measures to safeguard our business and reduce costs. They can't make money in the biggest, best real estate market we've ever had in history. That should tell you something. That's a problem. I'm just saying. Compass also Tuesday unveiled that it had shut down Modus Technologies, a Seattle-based company that Compass bought in October of 2020, heralding its entry point into the title and escrow space. The shutdown of Modus is not a reflection of any plans to depart from the company's commitment to title and escrow. The company continues to plan to offer these services in every market in which the company operates. Well, then why did you shut down this company in the title and escrow space? It says, in addition to the layoff and Modus shutdown, the explosive SEC filing also signals a transformation plan For Compass, the transformation plan is expected to include, but not be limited to, a series of actions such as a reduction in U.S. hiring and backfills resulting from attrition occurring both in the first half of 2022 and anticipated for the remainder of the year. The plan also includes consolidating offices and reducing related costs. Compass will make a subsequent SEC filing, the company states, in which it will specify just how many real estate leases it is seeking to get out of. So one of the hallmarks of a big brokerage presence in a city, say such as St. Louis, is multiple offices. And you may say, well, why do you need multiple offices? Well, it was thought for many, many years that buyers are only going to go a certain distance from their home to gain brokerage services. And so if you wanted to be a big brokerage, you needed to have almost like a Walgreens, like on every corner, you needed to have an office. That hasn't been true in 20 years. Okay. Like, for instance, I'll have people that live in Wentzville call me, and Wentzville's like an hour and a half away. Okay. They don't care where they don't care about that. I think what it does do is it makes you look good. If you can have a lot of offices with just your brand showing, that's huge. I mean, if you can get an office close to a major road with a lot of traffic, I mean, that's definitely going to help you with branding. It doesn't so much help you with no one cares that you're close. Like, that doesn't matter. I mean, like for me, like I live in South County, I could list a house in North County tomorrow and no one would say anything. It really doesn't matter. But anyway, additionally, Compass is planning to pause its typically prolific merger and acquisition activity. And the company, famous for rolling into markets with a high-profile agent hires from Los Angeles to Miami to Kansas City, will pause market expansion for the rest of the year. They are not even going to recruit agents for the rest of the year. Now, it's June. That's 6 months. That's tough. That's all they had. So it says, fueled by about $1.5 billion in venture capital money, including at least $450 million from Japan-based SoftBank, Compass has disrupted brokerage markets across the country, particularly in expensive locales, New York City and San Francisco. The company's growth trajectory has been so rapid that it eclipsed long-established brokerage conglomerate Realogy in 2021's Real Trend Brokerages of the top 500 U.S. brokerages by sales volume. So we had talked about this earlier. I was correct. They did beat Realogy in sales volume, and they did it by just pilfering agents, like really high flyer agents in all kinds of places. Well, how did they pilfer those agents? They sold them on a vision, okay? And then that vision isn't reality, but the agents don't know that until they're there. And so when you get 450, they got 1.5 billion in venture capital money, okay? You give me 1.5 billion, I could probably do some things. I'll be honest with you, I could probably do some things. I could probably get a few agents. I'm just saying, I know that sounds bad, but like what they did was, and they do this in the real estate space all the time. They say traditional brokerage doesn't work. We're here to revolutionize it. How are we going to revolutionize it? Well, eXp Realty is going in the metaverse. Okay. They're another high flying, high growth business. It's at the bottom, at the end of the day, you recruit a bunch of agents. Okay. And you hope they stay with you. That's real. I mean, the business, the general business itself is never going to change. I'm always going to be out there showing my buyers houses. And I'm also going to be working with sellers trying to sell their home. That business doesn't change, and it won't. I mean, that's the business. These companies put new spins on old things. Anyway, it says, however, Compass's growth has come amid widespread skepticism that it lacks a plan towards profitability. This is my stance as well. The company has freely spent not on just signing bonuses, which you can't offer if you don't have any money, and for fat commissions for agents, but other features like brick and mortar office space that brokerages are increasingly doing away with. Yes, that's correct. So like, as I was telling you, when there was a presence, when there was a need to have an office on every corner, that's one thing. That doesn't exist anymore. We don't need that. Now, what I was telling you about the fat commissions for agents, they've said in their SEC filings, in their annual reports, that they plan on cutting those commissions over time. And that's how they're going to be profitable. And then a signing bonus. I mean, God, if you're an agent and somebody's going to offer you a signing bonus or quote unquote ownership in the company, that's what one of the bigger brokerages offers. Well, you're going to get ownership in this company. it's kind of like a pyramid scheme to me, but what do I know? Let's go with this. It says Compass lost $494 million in 2021 and $188 million on the first quarter alone of 2022. Okay, I understand that $494 million they lost. I mean, unbelievable. And $188 million the first quarter. I don't know what they've done the second quarter. The company also announced in May that Kirsten Ankerband, the chief financial officer who shepherded Compass to an IPO, would resign in September. Compass is not named a replacement. I don't know what that means. The chief financial officer who shepherded Compass to an IPO would resign in September. Okay, well that's not a big deal. It says updated. This piece was updated to reflect Compass stock resumed trading Tuesday after a 46-minute pause. So that's Compass. Okay. Now, I don't know if it was on the same day, but we've got this article. It says Redfin lays off 8% of its workforce. Now, I could have looked at the date, the date, but I didn't, and I apologize. I was just busy. This here, it says brokerage cites decreasing housing demand and goal of profitability as reasoning for the layoffs. I believe they've been around for 20 some odd years, Redfin, not made a profit. It says Redfin is laying off 400. Now, understand this is in the best market we've ever had for real estate agents. It says Redfin is laying off 470 employees, roughly 8% of his workforce, or about 6%, including those employed by RentPath and mortgage lending firm Bay Equity, according to an SEC report filed on Tuesday. The brokerage cited housing demand and being 17% below. The brokerage cited housing demand being 17% below Redfin's expectations in May is the main reason for the layoffs. So in theory, they projected a lot of housing demand, and then they didn't get it, and so now they have to let these people go. 470 people. There's almost 1,000 people being let go by real estate brokerages in the past week. It says, to the departing people who put your faith in Redfin, I'm sorry we can't keep our commitment to you. It's okay when a company can't commit to you, but it's not okay if you can't commit to them. With May demand 17% below expectations, we don't have enough work for our agents and support staff. And fewer sales leaves us with less money for headquarters projects. Well, that's not good. That's not good. It said in a statement to Real Trends, a company spokesman said, we're offering the good people leaving several months of severance pay and healthcare benefits. We extend our deepest apologies. There's nothing worse in the business than a layoff. Well, going under completely. According to the SEC filing, most of the cuts will affect software engineers as well as those employed in the recruiting, training, and licensing departments. Redfin attributed the engineering layoffs to many of the firm's software projects reaching completion, while other layoffs were attributed to the drop in housing demand. Now, let me tell you something about Redfin. Redfin's a discount broker. The CEO has said time and time again that real estate agents make too much money. It's really insulting as a real estate agent to have some asshat say that and then realize like he's never sold a house in his life. He's never been an agent. He has no idea what he's talking about. And the guy literally is using tech. It's like Zillow, basically. They fight for the top spot on listings. But for this guy to say that we make too much money and yet he can never make a profit in his business, and it just makes you kind of sick to your stomach to hear people talk that way. When we were turning away tens of thousands of customers in 2020 and 2021, we had to hire thousands of employees a month to catch up, requiring berserk levels of recruiting, training, and licensing. There's no avoiding that those groups will be hardest hit today. So the people that just came on, congratulations, you're getting booted. Also, they didn't mention that they got hit with a fair housing violation that they settled. Weird. Rising mortgage rates, now at 6%, we're all still blamed for the layoffs. I mean, you can look like let's understand the standard corporate layoff excuses. Corona, interest rates, didn't meet our expectations, not as strong as we'd like it to be. Agents want too much money. I mean, anything you want to do. We raised hundreds of millions of dollars so we wouldn't have to shed people after just a few months of uncertainty. But mortgage rates increased faster than any point in history. We could be facing years, not months, of fewer home sales, and Redfin still plans to thrive. It never makes any money, but it's thriving. If falling from $97 per share to $8 doesn't put a company through heck, I don't know what does. In the filing, Kelman stressed that the layoffs were part of Redfin's goal of becoming profitable. That'd be nice. Be nice. And that they were a result of shortfalls in Redfin's revenue and not a reflection of the performance of the people being let go. Well, no one's saying it's the people's fault. Redfin is offering employee 10 weeks of base salary with an initial pay for every 12 months of service beyond 1 year, capped at 15 weeks of pay. The firm will also extend healthcare coverage for laid off employees by 3 months. Kelman said the firm expects to grow more slowly as the housing market slows down. Look, I have no interest in Redfin or Compass. I mean, they run their business the way they need to, but it's not the way I need to run my business. It's not where I need to be. So I think I'm going to call it there. I mean, I've been on for an hour and 25 minutes, which is long for me. We didn't get into all my topics that I wanted to get into, and I'm sorry, but I feel like I've done what I can. Those of you out there, have a good evening. I'll probably stream tomorrow, but thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.